everybody. My name is Jan Horlings, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be presenting to you today this video about our new and exciting initiative, Deep Funding. And this presentation is targeted mainly at you being a community member. Before we go ahead, I have only one slide on SingularityNET and the rest will be on Deep Funding. But yeah, for those of you who are a little bit newer, I thought it would be good to start out on the same page. So the mission of SingularityNET is to create decentralized, democratic, inclusive, beneficial, artificial, general intelligence. It's already hard to pronounce it, but the ambition itself, it's like mind-blowing. But we work on that on a day-to-day basis, and we are now starting Deep Funding to enable you and other AI developers to become part of that. And the way we are doing that, our strategy to reach a beneficial artificial intelligence is in 3 steps, you could say. So the first step is feeding the platform or seeding the platform with as many good, beneficial AI services as we can, and that is the main target of Deep Funding. The second step, which would make sense if there are a sufficient amount of services on the platform, is to deploy AI DSL. That's a domain-specific language for AI services that will enable them to communicate together and to dynamically form groups that collaborate to execute more complex tasks than any of those services could by themselves. So that is already a big step towards a higher level of AI. And the third step would be adding OpenCog Hyperon to the mix. That's our new iteration of OpenCog, which is more scalable, better, faster, which is more like a concerted approach to artificial general intelligence by combining multiple strategies like machine learning, neurosymbolic AI, evolutionary strategies, etc. And combining them in a concerted way on top of a knowledge base, a distributed knowledge base, which we call metagraph. And that way also enabling that structure to execute much more complex AI tasks than any more narrow AI service with one of those strategies would be capable of. So that is all very fascinating, and we're working on that as we speak right now on a day-to-day basis. But in the context of what we're aiming to do with Deep Funding, I think it's also important to have a quick look on how we want to accomplish this by having a look at our values. So our values are defined as we want to be open, creative, collaborative, and kind. And that is also how I hope that we will be working together between SingularityNET and the community on Deep Funding. Now, without further ado, let's go to Deep Funding itself. Disclaimer, important. We aim to learn. We have been working hard on making a good start with Deep Funding, and I hope you will all be enjoying that pretty soon. But it won't be perfect. It's the first round, and it not being perfect I see as an opportunity to collaborate and to work on it together, so that we, you people out there, we here, and the proposers, whoever wants to participate, create better processes and better features and better tools, so that this is still round 1, right, where we're starting with, but that's round 2 will be better than round 1, and round 3 will be better than round 2, etc. And we'll allow ourselves some space to make mistakes. Sometimes we will try and experiment, and it will not work out as we expected. That's all fine too, as long as we collaborate and have this higher goal of making deep funding a success. So I hope that you will embark with me on that journey and doing so in a constructive, collaborative way. Next, guiding principles. So deep funding is a community-driven program aiming to seed the platform with new and compelling AI services. That is what deep funding is in a sentence. And so what we try to do, the main objective of deep funding is to grow the AI platform. And by making sure that it is seeded with new AI services, and as a result, hope that it will improve the AGIX economy. Second point is, and probably that is the most important one of these three, I think I will feel free to recommend proposals coming in that I think are really good. And maybe colleagues of mine will do the same. And we will advise people on what to do. But that is where it stops. Because in the end, it is the community that decides which proposals are being awarded with grants. Me being part of the community as a token holder, but all together as token holders on the principle of one token, one vote, will be the only ones who decide which projects get awarded. Point 3, I think sustainability and scalability are really important things. And in my opinion, the way to do that is to make sure that as many processes as possible will be automated. I don't want deep funding to rely on me or anyone else or a very small group of people. I wanted to rely on us all as a community. So the way to do that is by, in my opinion, by automation. And automation can only be done based on transparent and clear rules. And if we manage to do that, ultimately the goal is to build this into a sustainable, community-governed, well-functioning, community-governed DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. That won't happen overnight. That will be a step-by-step gradual thing, and that's why we have to experiment, see what works and not works. But that is actually a very important one. Deep funding, while the first goal is to grow the platform, is also, for me, very much an experiment in governance. So we have to make sure that we'll find ways that we can decide, that we can discuss and decide together on all the decisions that will be made in the future. And that way, deep funding can be an example. Can be an example to SingularityNET as a bigger organization that will also be decentralized, and the bigger decentralized community in crypto. Those are big words, but I think it's important to have goals. And what I hope to get out of this is a growing, a successful AI platform and a well-functioning, collaborative governance community. So how can you contribute? I hope you want to contribute, and if you want to do that, there are multiple ways. So most obvious way have something to do with the proposals coming in. So I hope you will be able to view and assess the proposals, maybe not all of them, but maybe the ones that really speak to you. And I'm looking forward to your constructive feedback on those proposals so we can improve them, make them better together with the project teams. We will find a way to rate proposals before voting. Then at some point we will have the official voting based on the number of tokens in your wallet. You will be able to vote. More about that later. And I also hope, or what I also aim for, is to create ways for you and all of us to coach and mentor these teams in other ways than just giving feedback to the proposals. More on that later as well. Besides that, and I already talked a little bit about it before, there's this other way of helping, which is not about proposals, but which is about our own processes and tooling, about the structure in deep funding. And to be honest, that is the part that I'm looking forward to most of all. I really want to have discussions on what is a good process for deep funding. Should that period for proposing and giving feedback, should that be 6 weeks or 4 weeks or 8 weeks, or should we divide it into things? Well, I can think of a number of subjects, but let's delay that a bit to later. But those are the kind of things, and much more complex things than that I'm really looking forward to be discussing with you. And maybe not even discussing, but also co-creating. I can imagine that some of the proposals we will put out there will actually be proposals for creating functionality that will help us on the deep funding program. So that will be part of the adventure, and that will definitely be a way that if you want, you can contribute. Also, if you're not an AI developer or developer whatsoever, you can still help us by thinking about what good rules and processes are for deep funding. Well, this slide is called Reasons to Contribute. And actually, I hope I don't have to give you any reasons. I hope you will have that intrinsic motivation that will motivate you to help us on this program. But to give you a few reasons anyway, there will be an incentive program. We will not do that in the first round, but later on, and that is actually part of the process that I was alluding to before, that I would really like to be discussing with you. So what is a good incentive, and what kind of behavior do we incentivize, and how do we do that? I expect there will be some AGIX available for people who are constructive, but potentially there's a whole world behind that concept in how we can fine-tune that and roll that out. But that will be a motivation to work, to have a kind of AGIX/monetary advantages of working on helping us with deep funding. Obviously, you will be in contact with a lot of cool projects. Maybe there will be ways that these projects will award you for your support, and maybe by getting involved in the projects, you can also get involved more deeper, maybe even as a team member, I don't know. Working with teams can be a benefit in itself, but working with your fellow community members, I hope, will also be beneficial and make you feel rewarded, and that way you can also feel others be rewarded. If your fellow community members offer their participation and have a good attribution, you can show your support of that. In the disclaimer at the first part of this presentation, I mentioned that this is a learning journey and we need to learn, and I fully expect to learn. And I think the more involved you as a community member will be in this program, the more you will be able to learn as well. So I see that as a benefit as well. For me it will be, and I hope it will be for you as well. All right, a little bit more on the AGIX rewards. So we do plan to have some kind of incentive mechanism around deep funding. We also decided not to implement that yet in round one, because part we want to have the discussion, part we don't want to overcomplicate it at the first round, and part that we would like to have a zero measurement that we can compare next rounds with. So If you ask me now how that will evolve, I think it's very likely that in maybe the next round we will at least have rewards for voting. Already that might get complex because we want people to vote because they feel a project is really good, and we don't want people to vote just blindly just to get a reward. So that already requires some thinking, and that kind of thinking is the reason why we'll start out with a blank canvas now in the first round. More importantly, in later rounds, and I think that would be the big goal, functionally speaking, I hope we will have a reputation system, an evolving reputation system that takes into account all positive and constructive behavior and values all that behavior with the right weights, and then we can use that reputation to reward people. For instance, if you would review and assess every proposal and give constructive and long and detailed feedback, then I think you should be rewarded in a better way than somebody who only votes. Just as an example. But of course there can be different ways, there are different behaviors online, there are different things you can do to help deep funding. This is just one of the topics that we will be discussing. Yeah, about the voting. We will start out with a platform with a number of features. It's not perfect yet, but it will have some options to rate projects, I expect, and give feedback. Voting. We plan for the first round not to do a simple yes/no vote, but to do grade voting, meaning that you can score every project on a scale of 1 till 10, where 1 would be extremely poor and 10 would be a mega fantastic project. We think that gives a little bit more options to specify what you think about a project than just a binary, like it, not like it. But this is the first thing. One of the things, but the first really fundamental thing that we will test out and that we will learn about. And after this round, we'll see if it was a success. Maybe we don't need 1 to 10, we need to do it 1 to 5 or go back to binary, or there are other ways of voting even that we can think about. We'll also put a threshold to projects, so a project would need to have an average grade to be eligible to grants, even if it's voted upon. If everybody would say, this project is lousy, I'll give it a 2 or a 3. I don't think, and I don't hope there will be many projects like that, but suppose that would be the case, then it would just not, if it would be the only project that would be submitted to our funding proposal, it would still not be awarded because it's below the threshold. So the question is then where to put that threshold. My feeling is that a 6 would be a little bit too conservative. We want something to be higher than a 6. But a 7 might already put the threshold a little bit too high, because we also want a good quantity of products, and putting the threshold too high might leave too many projects behind. Right now I'm targeting the strange number maybe of 6.5, but that's another thing that we will learn about in next rounds. So that is the threshold for projects for rating, and when you are voting on projects you can take that into account. If you know that it's a threshold, then you know that if you rate a 7 for a project, you are increasing their options to get awarded, and if you give them a 6 or lower, you know that you are decreasing their options to be awarded. So it's very important to have this clear in advance, obviously. But maybe in next round it will be a 7 or an 8 or a 5. But that's something we will find out together. All right, rating and mentoring. What I hear about VCs, venture funds, etc., is that they offer promise the projects that they invest in, that they will not just give them money, but they will also help them and give them expertise, etc. But in reality, that's not always the case. And that is something where I really would like deep funding to shine and to develop itself. And that won't be done overnight. I don't expect miracles in the first round or in the second round, but I hope over time we will be able to form a group of people with very diverse capabilities and expertise that will be available to advise and coach and mentor those teams, not just by giving feedback on the proposal in our portal, but also really going into a dialogue with them and advising them on whatever. And it could be legal advice, or it could be AI researcher, or it could be a visual designer, or it could be marketing and sales. All these things are important for projects to become successful. And if we would be able to formulate that group, and I'm not saying that this needs to be done for free, I mean, these teams will be funded, so they will have some means of payment at least, and maybe that payment that way could flow back a little bit to the community. But if we would be able to set that up in a functional, reasonable way, feasible way, that could be a huge success factor as well. To be honest, maybe we should add it to the three initial critical success factors I put above. Maybe as a fourth or a 3B or something. I think it's that important. Yeah. Governance, the development of the platform itself. We are embarking on a best of breed strategy, as I call it. We don't have a single platform that we'll put out there which does everything, but we're starting out now with our WordPress site. On top of that, we will have, and that's not visible at the start of when our website is launched, but shortly after, we will open up a portal for ideation that is an existing portal, and it's called Sway. And I'm really enthusiastic about the portal, but also about the team behind it, because what I expect is that we will really collaborate and co-create with them, and they will also take our and your advice and recommendations and requirements or wishes into account. So what I imagine is that together we will be creating a backlog for functionality that we need or want to get rid of in the existing program. And I have confidence that they will work with us on that, because it's in their best interest as well, because they also want Sway to become the portal for DAOs and for governance in a Web3 situation. So I'm really positive about that. But so we also have our voting portal there. That is a separate. So we have WordPress, Sway, voting portal, some other tools like email, etc. But the best of breed part of it is that should one of these parts not be that successful as we hope and expect it to be, we can just take out that component and put another one in it without having to change the whole setup. So if for whatever reason Sway fails to deliver or something would happen, then we could choose another solution, but our WordPress and our voting portal would still stay there. Or if our voting portal is not capable of bringing the features that we need, but there is another one in the market, we could exchange those, but the WordPress and the Sway would still be the same. So that way we keep our flexibility, but we also keep options open to develop. And when I talked before this already about co-creating and collaborating, this is what I mean. I really hope that together we can work on this tool set and other tools and create additional functionalities. it won't be perfect at round one, right? I think I said that before and I'll say it again. It won't be perfect at round one. We'll try it to make it reasonably good and a good experience, and I think it will be. But there definitely will be room for improvement, and that's great because that gives us something to do, basically, and to collaborate on. All right, enough about that. Yeah, this is a big topic. Incentive structure. I said that mentoring and coaching should maybe be one of the additional, the fourth critical success factor. Well, if that is the case, then this should be the fifth one. But it ties really into the third one, which is making our deep funding process scalable by making it automated and not relying on just a few individuals, but on the community as a whole. And in order to do that, we really need a good incentive system so that people are rewarded for positive behavior, basically. There are a few ingredients there that I think we will need. So one would be a Web3 wallet login, so that we can, for instance, connect voting behavior on our voting portal with rating and feedback behavior on our ideation portal. As I already outlined before, we need some kind of liquid weighted reputation. So there's a world behind that as well. I already elaborated a little bit on it, so I'll keep it short. But we want positive behavior to be awarded. But the liquid part here would mean that if you get a positive reference from somebody who already has a very high reputation, that would also count into your reputation. And it would count more than if you get a compliment from somebody who is just new on the portal. So that is the liquid part, just as in liquid democracy. Yeah, that's a complex and fascinating area, not just for deep funding, but also for governance and for Web3 DAO governance in general. So that's why I was saying that I also see this as an experiment in governance. And to work this out and make this work will be complex. It will not be there at one stage. It will be an ongoing journey of experimentation, of thinking, of discussing, and of simulation maybe, and of improving. And really looking forward to that. And if we can make that work, as I hope we can make it work, then we have something that is valuable, very valuable to deep funding, but also beyond deep funding, I would say. Last words. It was a long presentation already, and I really enjoying this, but this is the last one. To give you a little peek in what I think might happen, but it's just my opinion in this moment, is what I think we will see is I hope we will see Sway developing itself in a really good tool, which brings all the features that we desire and needed to have. So I see a lot of improvement or development there. But other things I hope we will probably need is some kind of governance for awarded projects, so that we can measure how they are doing, maybe put it in a kind of dashboard or something. I also think at some point we have a voting portal, which is now separate from the Sway environment, but I expect that will, at least at the front end, it will be more of an integrated experience. And then looking even further ahead, facilitation offering, I'm reading it right now, of specific expertise and tasks that ties into coaching and mentoring, but also we will ask the projects to describe their team, because by knowing what people are on the team, we know what the rate of successes they will have, what the chances are to complete the project successfully. But it might be that they are missing some expertise in the team. They might have a really great AI researcher in the team, but no UXer. Or they might have AI research, app development, UX, but no marketeer. And I hope that someday in the future we'll also be able to connect or integrate that kind of matchmaking and searching for expertise as part of deep funding. Another thing which is actually, well, could be very easy is I would allow people who don't have a team and who don't plan to develop stuff, but who just have a good idea, also to give them a platform of sorts, to give them a way to put their idea forward. But of course it would be great if we could then also reward people for that good idea if it is being executed and delivered. How we should do that, how we should make sure that the right people get rewarded in the right amount, I don't know. We can either do that very simple or undoubtedly make it very complex, but that's one other direction I'm thinking of right now. Yeah, and then really going maybe not even that much in the future, but with broader ideas, I think we can expand deep funding in the area of, for instance, incubation. So right now it's completely decentralized in the sense that projects can submit a proposal. Maybe we'll have that mentoring team, but it's not structured. So another way of doing that is by really having an incubation team, by people who are part of deep funding structurally, mentoring and coaching these teams in a predefined structured way. We are not doing that right now because we want to make sure that all funds that are allocated to deep funding are directed to the projects out there, and we don't want to give the impression that we want to use those funds to pay our own people or whatever. But maybe in the future there will be room for initiatives like that one way or another. Yeah, this could go on. We could also have third parties sponsoring a fund, putting forward some money for projects for their specific goals. I can also imagine, I would like that if we could make it in some kind or have some kind of crowdfunding option there, that you as a community member would not just vote but also use your tokens to fund these teams and get rewarded if it is successful. But these are just really wild ideas, and it's just to give you an impression on the kind of discussions that I want to have with you. So remember our values. The first one was being open. Now this is me being open about my ideas, and I hope in return you will be collaborative and kind in discussing and exploring these ideas with me. So there's a possibility that everything on this slide will not happen, but other things will happen in return. But yeah, I love to explore this with you in the future. So that's all for now. Was a long talk, but I'm looking forward to continue it on our social channels. So I'll be seeing you on Telegram, Discord, YouTube, etc. We'll be in touch.